Hey y'all, this is Moni.
And this is Kat.
Hey Kat. And this is the Fake Ass Book Club. Wait, can we both say it or no?
Right, you guys, welcome back. It's your girl Moni.
And this is Kat.
Hey Kat.
Hey, Moni.
What's up, friend?
Oh, just everything. I'm actually feeling a lot better.
I'm glad.
And you look super cute.
Thank you.
You
so
look
do
refreshed.
you.
Is there any reason why?
I mean, I might be a little sun-kissed by the tropical sun or something. You know, I might have been in Grenada frolicking with the girls.
Oh, were you now?
I was, and I had a ball. Oh my God, so much fun. Obviously, it wasn't enough time, but I'm grateful for the time I had. So,
What would you tell women who just feel like they don't have time for a vacation?
You're probably right, but you have to do it anyway. Because all the stuff that I was escaping from was still here when I got back. But I feel, being able to push the pause button makes you feel like, okay, I can jump back in now, feeling a little bit more refreshed, a little less overwhelmed, and I don't know, with a greater appreciation for everything.
I was about to say, is there maybe a renewed appreciation for your presence after?
Absolutely.
Okay, from your family after you're gone. I think that's the biggest thing from taking time out for yourself is so that everybody can get a little glimpse into what you do, because a lot of times you really don't know.
No, you don't.
Until it stops and it's like, hey,
where's mom? Where's mom?
Where's that lady who does this stuff?
I know.
Yeah.
Well, and because I feel like because women, we tend to have the ability to sort of make the energy in the house a little bit too. And it's, we're into making things comfortable and nice. Because I like things to be comfortable.
I think we call it vibes.
Vibes.
Yeah.
We're vibe curators. We talk about that. So, yeah, absolutely. I did feel that. Lots of kisses, lots of I miss yous and stuff like that. So that is definitely nice. And it makes me kind of think about what we're getting into today a little bit. Just, appreciating what women bring to the table. And, maybe how there are sectors of the population who really don't appreciate women, who really don't see it for us and don't understand our value and what we bring. So that brings us to our topic today, which is the manosphere.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, I was really excited when you wanted to talk about this because I feel like I've been thinking about it a lot. I think maybe because you said it's like something that's come into your focus a little bit more lately.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been on it because I'm out here dating these dudes.
That's so true.
And so it's discouraging.
Well, it makes sense too, because now some of the conversations that I feel like we've had in the past make more sense to me now. And I realize I really don't interface with lots of single men. So yeah, I can see how that's different. But also, this isn't just exclusive to single men is what I'm understanding. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of, men who are married and in other situations who kind of are at that intersection of this space. So if you're like me, I understood that this energy existed, but I didn't realize it had a name. So I guess that was the surprising part.
Yeah.
So let me give you the definition of what this is and kind of the topic we're talking about, you guys. So
break it down.
The Manosphere. So the Manosphere is a collection of online communities and ideologies centered on issues of masculinity, male identity, and perceived challenges faced by men. It spans the broad spectrum of beliefs from self-help and dating advice to more extreme and toxic perspectives such as misogyny and anti-feminism. So we're going to be diving into those shadowy depths today, and we're going to kind of get into some of the terminology, some of the main players. I feel like because I'm at the beginning of this journey of really jumping into, what incels are and the red pill theory and some of the verbiage that gets used, that this is not going to just be a one-part episode. You mentioned that you feel like it's probably a really good idea to maybe bring in a man and talk to men about this, because this is like a 101 sort of episode. So we're really just scratching the surface, but we're going to get into it as best we can today. So hopefully you guys are into it. And before we jump all the way in, we should probably dedicate this episode. So if you guys don't mind, put your hands over your hearts. And as always, we want to dedicate this episode to our patrons. I can't even say enough. I say it every week, but I mean it every week. How your support keeps us going, and we are appreciative of your continued support. If you aren't a Patreon member, you guys, please join us at Patreon.com/The Fat Podcast. We have lots of content there for you. And my just original dedication for this episode is honestly to all my homegirls. Thank Anitra, happy birthday. To the whole crew that went to Grenada, thank you guys so much for including me. I feel like what gets missed in a lot of conversations is like that sisterhood is so renewing. It's so positive, and women at our best are healers. We heal each other, we heal the world. And so I'm really grateful to have a community of women that I can tap into and, I don't know, really get into my, get back in touch with who I am as a person and have those experiences. So shout out to all the ladies. Shout out to Juan from Argentina. Juan, if you're listening. Venezuela. Oh my God. I haven't been drinking and now I'm drinking. It was. Thank you.
No problem.
You're a good listener. That's great. Juan, my bad. You know what I'm saying? But shout out to you, though, because you were one of the men who was on our side.
I just like correcting people.
It's fine. It worked out. But, yeah, just shout out to everybody on the trip. We had a great time. Shout out to Grenada. Shout out to all the natives there for sharing your island. What about you, friends?
Yes, and that was fantastic.
It was lengthy.
It was fantastic, though. It needed to be said.
Thank you.
My dedication is going out to Josephine Baker, because apparently we have to fight the Nazis again. And she was a big part of fighting the Nazis. She was a war hero. People mostly know her as being a Black American expat who lived in Paris and had this like topless review show. You love me. I love a lady with her titties out.
It's fun.
It's festive. But she was also like a spy during World War II, fighting the Nazis because the Nazis occupied Paris. And so that took a lot of bravery.
It does.
And you should look her up. She was amazing. So I'm taking a lot of bravery and inspiration from her. So it's like, because even though we're still fighting the Nazis, we're not, at least they're not like, it's not like back then. They were like,
yeah, they went.
You know what dedication over.
Dedication.
You know what I really don't like about these Nazis? They don't even bother to dress up. At least the old school Nazis gave us looks.
They don't show their faces. Did you see the ones marching in Ohio? They had the Nazi flags. They were in black and red.
Pussy.
Exactly. And then
I hate using that as a pejorative because pussies are very strong.
But y'all know what we mean, though.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But okay.
Fuck out of here. You know what I mean?
I like everyone horrible decisions. They be like, pussy asshole.
Man. And there were some Black men out there to point out, yo, show your face then.
Right. Stand on business.
Yeah.
10 toes down.
Yeah. And shout out to the Black men that organized right after that demonstration in the same spot to say, we ain't scared of y'all. Fuck y'all. Like, it's some hoe ass energy.
It is.
It really, really is. And what I'm noticing is that energy is sort of like what we're tapping into, right? There's a lot of fear.
The bitch assness.
The bitch assness. There's a lot. So when we talk about the manosphere, what I was noticing was that it seems to start off pretty benign, right? Like,
sure.
It starts
because
off,
it's not like men don't have challenges. We do not want to mitigate the very real challenges that every human being on this earth, no matter what you identify as, you're having a human experience, so you're going to have struggles.
And it's hard.
And we're not here to mitigate that at all.
Right. Or
but
minimize.
You don't have to make your problems everybody else's problems is what it is.
And so what was interesting to me was, so maybe you're a guy who just went through a breakup, or you had some kind of maybe you lost your job. I don't
Or
really
maybe
know.
you got played.
Maybe you got played. That does happen. That happens to everybody. And what it feels like, or what I've, and this is just observational, it feels like there aren't these built-in sort of, like I just got through going on and on. Like I couldn't even stop gushing about all of the wonderful and fabulous and beautiful and smart and supportive females that I have in my life in different forms, to where like when things happen in my life, I can pull up on you. I can pull up on these women, moms, aunties, grandmas, and feel support for things that are happening to me and recognize that like I'm not alone. But what I feel like might be missing is that like a lot of men don't really have that, or if they do, they don't know how to tap into it because they're not socialized to. So instead, what happens is you're going on to these online communities, which can be a good and resourceful thing, but sometimes you're getting introduced to these ideas that are telling you like,
the earth is flat.
The earth is flat. And it's not you. The problem is it's the woman. So like, let's just say it's a breakup. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, you know, women, they are innately terrible. You know, they're selfish. They only go after these certain kind of men. And so really it's not you, it's them, and you should hate, you know, and then you start rabbit holing with all of these different talking points. And so I was like, wow, this is pretty insidious. And the entry points feel like either so self-help stuff. Like you can start tapping into self-help sort of things. And we talked about this on our podcast, correct? Like when we're talking to men about the kinds of books that they like to read, what do they normally say for them?
It is usually a self-help book or like a how to make it in business book, or they're nonfiction.
They're nonfiction books.
And they're very much instructional.
They're looking for instructions, right?
But they're not usually narratives. They're
No.
not really interested in hearing other people's narratives is something that I've noticed, as opposed to us. We tend to really enjoy hearing other people's narratives from their perspective.
Absolutely. So maybe, you know, when they get introduced into the manosphere and they're listening to these personalities and they're telling their stories, you know, it resonates because, of course, you know, like when you're disgruntled about something, nothing's more gratifying than to have somebody tell you, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And actually, they're the bitch. You know, they're the ones who did you wrong.
Validate my perspective and my
100%.
experience. Yeah, it feels great. Actually, we do that a lot of times.
We do, a lot.
It feels really great, but I never go so far as to be like, it's these men or it's these transgender or these non-binary. It's never that.
It never is. It never is. But I think having a simple enemy, though, sometimes is easier than having a more nuanced sort of view of like, oh, maybe it's the larger forces at work, like, you know, capitalism, or the really rigid sort of like line you have to walk. Yeah, like as a masculine person.
Or I like the word used was simple.
Okay.
Because there's been all this talk lately about like how the Democrats need to do this, that, or the other. But the problem is the problems in our world are complicated. So they're not going to have simple answers.
No.
So when you have a candidate who's like, no, I have simple answers, it's like, but he's not telling the truth. It's like, I don't care. I can understand it and I don't have to learn new things.
Boom.
So that's
part of it. I agree with that. I feel like in some cases, like the simple answer is, you know, like we don't have to overcomplicate certain things, but I do think when you're talking about, because it's like, if you think about, I don't know, like there doesn't seem to be a lot of latitude for men to have or acknowledge mental health. Like, I mean, even, I'm trying to think of a really good example that would be like, oh yeah, everybody can relate to it. But I know that I've witnessed scenarios where like, so like maybe Terry Crews isn't the best one, but like say when sexual abuse happens, you know what I mean? Like,
I think the Terry Crews one is a good example. Okay,
yeah.
Because he got sexually harassed like publicly at a party, and when he talked about it, he was dragged. Just absolute by, I feel like, so many people, and it was just kind of like, hey, and people were like, man, that'd been me. I'd have punched him in the face. It's like,
you might have, but
then we wouldn't know who Terry Crews is. Like, you would.
I mean, my thing is like, I at least want to hear the man's story. Like, I'm not going to shut it down before I even listen to it. And I think that's the point. Like, a lot of times, like women, maybe the privilege of being a woman sometimes is that, like, you know that you have this space to be emotional. You know what I mean? Like, whereas if men are having to the point where, like, if you've been sexually assaulted,
you guys might have missed it if you're just listening.
Moni
quotes,
did air quotes. I love those, actually.
Yes,
I love different variations.
You did great.
Of them.
You did great. But like, yes, it's this idea that women are allowed to be, women are emotional and men aren't.
They are, but they just don't have a space to express that without being either humiliated, talked about, made fun of, degraded. You know, pick your word.
Well, that's the thing, like emasculated, because we really don't have a word for that for women. Like, do you ever feel effeminized?
No, I mean,
really
maybe just
enough, that does happen to Black women quite a bit, though, where we get told we look like a man. Like, that happens to Serena Williams a lot. Like, where, you know, like if you're,
yeah.
But I feel like it doesn't. it doesn't maybe cut as deep as it does for men. I think that goes into misogyny though.
Maybe.
Because,
I mean, and because I'm not a woman who's ever had that experience, I don't want to suppose the comparison, but I think that's the closest example.
Well,
you
I
know
think
what I mean?
because
Like,
being compared to a woman is an insult.
Yeah.
Whereas
for men.
usually if you tell a woman it's like that you handled that like a man, it's a compliment.
Handled, yes, but looked like I would be offended.
Sure.
You got me fucked up.
Sure. So it's
So.
it's that I empathize with men in that way where
sure.
you're told like you can't walk these lines, but at the same time you do need to get away from stuff that treats you that way, and that's easier said than done.
I think so too.
Because we've seen lots of men who have rejected. You think of Prince.
Oh yeah,
People
he's a good one.
who've rejected like strict binaries about gender.
But also, oh my gosh, and this is like, so I'm taking us off the trajectory because it's Fake Ass Book Club. But and I haven't watched it all the way, but there's some like videos circulating about Prince right now about his first marriage.
Because they're saying the documentary about his life's never gonna come out because of how he did his first wife,
which sort of delves into kind of this a little bit because it was some grooming apparently.
Here's the thing: I never watched Purple Rain until I was an adult, and it was wild. He was like speeding Apollonia up. Like it was, but yes, I didn't realize like Mate was that young when they met and how manipulated. And then, because here's the thing too, I knew he was like kind of religious and stuff and was kind of denying her health care.
Listen, this is so guys, I'm willing to issue any corrections after this. I haven't been drinking.
And also keep in mind, we love Prince.
Love Prince, right?
Love Prince. But
if you're wrong, you're wrong, right?
Like, yeah, like he was an incredible artist. And it seems like a lot of incredible artists, he had some serious ass problems.
So what I heard secondhand was that the part was, she was like 16 when they met. And I don't know at what point so they got married and she was pretty young, between 16 and 18-ish. And ended up having a baby, getting pregnant.
Was he her guardian?
I don't know, probably. We got to dive into this. We might have to even have like a whole, maybe even
I'll
if it's
research
Patreon.
it, editing me, look into it, and I'll issue any correction.
We'll come back. But from what I understand, of course, is that, got her pregnant, they were married or whatever, and then this baby had some, I don't know if it was congenital stuff, but something was like...
I think she wanted to terminate the pregnancy.
And he refused, and so made her go through with the whole thing. She ends up having the baby, and the baby lived like 9 or 10 days.
Yeah. I remember, so back in the days when it was happening, it was before like the internet. So you don't really learn all that much. So you just learn that they lost the baby, and people don't really ask a lot of questions after that either. Because, you're just left to, grieve privately and things like that. But I do remember she was on a VH1 show, like the first, about like all the first wives of all these. Because I remember R. Kelly's first wife was on there too.
That same one?
I bet there's a lot of, but she could only talk so much, but.
Oh
yes,
my gosh. But I'm bringing, I brought that up because, people even, I guess everybody's susceptible to taking on these sort of ideas about what women should be, what they're for, how they should be used, because you even hear the rhetoric now. Like they want to, part of the manosphere in my mind is your body, my choice type shit. And this is why
they doxed that dude.
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
We tweeted that.
Cause give me a
fuck around and find out.
Yeah, that's wildly problematic. But I'm just saying,
I'm not a big fan of doxing, but I also do like retribution.
I don't feel sorry for you though. Yeah.
Yeah, it's only so hard. hey,
listen, fuck around and find out,
like
you said.
Nest.
Yeah, man. So so when we're talking about the manosphere, to me, I'm like the intersectionality between our current politics, religion, self-help, fitness, relationships, you sort of, the reason why I wanted to have this conversation was because of just a conversation that I was directly involved with a person who I've known for a while. And I just thought, some of these talking points felt so wild to me that I was just like, this doesn't feel, I'm just curious, and to the point where I'm asking my husband, right? And so some of the things that came up in this conversation were more so toward queer people, right? And then the distinction of I don't mind queer women, but queer men, it's always that, right? And it's I
Is
know
that what
why
you-
you're saying this because you're
Yeah.
attracted to women, so you understand the attraction to women, but you don't understand the attraction to men. But also,
Maybe.
you're not gay. So why would you totally understand that? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's always wild to me. So it was like kind of put them on an island type shit. And they wouldn't be able to reproduce and they just like all die off type shit. And I'm like,
Dude. Okay, so
where does this come from?
It goes from this idea that we're just here to reproduce.
Period. And that's what made me think of it because it's like you think I'm here to just have your
Yeah, so it completely invalidates the existence of anyone who's not out here popping out kids.
baby. Right.
Which, I mean, I won't speak for Moni, but my thoughts are people are still valid if they don't reproduce.
I mean, I would hope so.
I mean, I don't think that is, because you mentioned religion, and sometimes not just Christianity, a lot of different religions. I think the reason religion exists in a lot of places in the world is kind of to control the, means of production, the means of reproduction. And so there's this idea that that's why, gay sex is often a taboo in lots of different religions because it's not making more, people. And you need people to fight your wars. So, you want to constantly keep a stream of people go to fight your wars, buy your products, do all of that stuff. So when you have things like birth control, abortion, women selecting who they date, because people keep talking about they want these kingdom marriages and these Christian marriages. No, you don't. Like, read the Bible. It's not great. So much rape. Guys, there's no prohibition against, sorry, computer.
But they don't
There's
care about
no
that.
prohibition against rape in the Bible. I mean, there's retributions, but if you rape someone,
fine.
you have to just pay her dad. Like, that's kind of...
But then maybe that's why the whole rape culture stuff now is so pervasive. You know what I mean?
I
Like,
think
I feel
so.
like, you really feel like there's this glazing over of it. I mean,
yeah,
about to be president
he's
is
a
sexual
been
offender.
found
No one
guilty.
gives a
No
damn.
one cares. And
Yeah.
he's appointing a bunch of sexual predators. I feel like, Kendrick Lamar has a new album. He had a great lyric from a hit song, "These predators move in flocks." Very true.
100%.
Very true.
Yeah, man.
So that's why it's usually not a good idea to let these dudes live. Like, you can't let this stuff ride. And so even taking like the first story with people in the Bible with Adam and Eve is somehow the corporate, like the bad person. Oh, should I fix this?
Yeah, man. We're up here trying
Sorry.
to keep a certain
I know.
je ne sais quoi.
I know, right? Okay. So, like, Eve apparently, like, in different parts of the world, like, the story goes differently, but I know, like, in certain communities, Eve is seen as the cause of chaos and evil in the world.
Right. AKA women.
Yeah.
So that-
and that being a woman is cursed and having a menstrual cycle is cursed and like the pain of pregnancy is a curse.
Wow.
And so, yeah, when this is the message you're giving your whole life and to men and women, because a lot of this manosphere stuff isn't just coming from men either.
Oh, no.
So-
You tapped in on trad wives. I mean, I think that's sort of like if you're making the Venn diagram, which I love.
Yeah, I
I'm
love
such a dork.
I love visualizing
Love
information.
Specifically Venn diagrams. though.
Yes.
I love the circles. I love when they intersect. And it's like, yes, that's so,
Mhm.
I just feel like it
to me,
captures it. It just
great
captures it.
visual
Captures it.
communication,
Mhm.
but this idea that and so much of this stuff too is rooted in racism, which is why it's so hard to hear it coming out of the mouths of black men.
Oof.
Because a lot of these talking points, I'm like, I've heard this from right-wing, like, white dudes pretty much my whole life.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, now that you're saying it, this is very disturbing. Like, I remember one time a gentleman telling me that things were better for black people under segregation because we had our own businesses. And it's like, okay, I see why you could feel that way, but it wasn't better. Like, just the fact that we were trapped in one little area and the fact that we don't have as much economic power now, it's not because there's not segregation, it's because there's still racism. Like, we are still very much being attacked. Like, we could be doing a lot better if it weren't for a concerted effort. Like, it's not a case for, like, let's bring back segregation.
Well, the thing is, bringing it back is weird because it's already still here.
That part.
So in my
like,
mind,
not
it's just
fighting
like,
it. Like, give up fighting it. It's better just to,
Right. Well, because Marcus Garvey kind of went into that, and I think a lot of people felt a way about his ideologies when it came to segregation and stuff like that too, because he kind of was like, I'm on with what they're on when it comes to just separating ourselves and creating our own situation. But the problem, I feel like, because even when because I will say that I do feel like communities where it forces you to count on each other more. And I think that might be what people are speaking to in terms of like when they say, oh, well, it was better for us because we felt like more of a community, and there was some more like maybe academic, Lord, financial,
Economic.
Thank you. That was
You're welcome.
God. Economic sort of like it forces you to be more intentional about who you do business with and stuff like that. I think that can get lost because at some point we've tricked ourselves into thinking like if we partner with them that, you know, it's the OJ effect. You feel like that money is going to get you to the point where it doesn't matter anymore when it does always matter. So
the white man's ice is colder.
Yeah. So
like we're
so
quick
aspiring to that. I feel like the separation doesn't necessarily need to be across color lines. It needs to be a mental separation of understanding what the enemy actually is. You know what I'm saying? So like in my mind, so I get when people say that. You know what I mean? I get that.
Yeah, it becomes, well, they end up with, it's hard because a lot of these talking points seem smart.
Yeah.
Even the flat earth stuff, because I feel like that was big in the Manosphere.
Oh my gosh.
That started from racism. That was from a comment President Obama made about, yes, girl. I just found out about, I was like, oh, I'm bringing this to the episode because I just learned this. But yes, like that whole thing started when Obama had made some comment, like when he was running the first time, just about how, like, you know, they'll just have you thinking the Earth's not round. And so then they're like, well, maybe the Earth's flat. You know, this is during the whole birther movement and stuff.
Oh, my God. Did anything to discredit what he's talking about? Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
So that got the ball rolling again. And once again, because that also goes back to religion, because early interpretations of the Earth, it does seem flat. Like from your little tiny perspective, it seems like a flat and then a dome, but now we know better.
Gosh. Where's Neil? Can he tell us?
Thank you, Dr. Tyson. Could you please? Once again, like you would also have to come up with a new working like theory for gravity, like if the Earth is flat, because the whole
Terrence Howard probably knows.
Terrence Howard doesn't know 1 + 1 = 2,
or is it 1 × 1 = 1? Or 1 times.
Oh, yeah, excuse me. Sorry. He doesn't believe 1 × 1 = 1.
Yeah.
Sorry. That was
because
silly.
Because it feels that I can see how
it feels counterintuitive, but like it's not addition, it's multiplication, baby. Like it's like just act. Why can't you just act? You're a really good actor. You're such a good actor. Like if I tried to show up to like the set of a movie and act, I'd be really bad at it. And I feel like,
I would just say,
like if it's so weird the things that we push back on, because I'm sure you just got on a plane, right? Or just got off a plane. Nobody was like tapping on the captain's door and be like, hey, I just watched a couple YouTube videos about aeronautics and I think you're doing it wrong. Like you know what I mean? Like they would just escort you off the plane. Like you can't be here. Yeah. So this idea that for whatever reason it's this fight against progress, I think, because for them it was like, yeah, it was easier in the days where I'd just be assigned a woman to do all the work.
I think that's what it feels like. It's like we don't want to have to try hard to actually engage with women as people. We really just want what they have to offer, which is just sex. I mean, maybe kids if that's what I want, but really very transactional. And then it's like on the other side, they feel like, well, that's what they want from us. They only want the top 20%. It's that 80-20 rule. I don't know if you've seen that, but I think it's an economic principle that they're trying to wrongly apply to dating and to, you know, and just kind of going off of statistics used on dating platforms and stuff, like those statistics, which is a totally different experience for a woman. I haven't been on it, but it just makes sense that, like, as a woman, like I'm not swiping on every fucking body. No. These dudes is like my safety.
Well, here's the thing. Like, the reason we have civilization is because of sexual selection. Period. Like pretty much, I'm gonna bring up that white man Tucker Max.
Oh yeah, I remember.
One of the reasons I liked him is because he was such a counter to the manosphere. Because he was like, for one, if you want to get women, you have to treat them like people, and secondly, you have to be an attractive like candidate. Like you can't just show up. You have to ask yourself,
So
why
what does that mean? Right.
Why
yeah, what
would
does
a
that
woman
mean?
want to date you? You have to,
Yeah.
because that's what he would ask guys who ask him. He's like, how do I get girls? He's like, well, why would a woman want to date you? And he's like, well, I've never asked myself that question. He's like, well, start asking. Like, ask yourself that question, because he's like, evolutionarily, sex has been the driving force of civilization, pretty much. And you see it in civilizations that oppress women. Those are the shitty countries. Like, you can see it, like, in countries where women have, like, access and stuff like that. Those are the places you want to go.
They're thriving, yeah.
And that's what's scaring me now with the way things are going politically, because, okay, remember back in the days, like when the Klan was like running our state? You don't remember,
like,
but remember
now,
learning about
where
it?
they just sent out those flyers in
Well, I'm
certain
talking
counties?
about back when it was like cool. Like you could be a card-carrying member of the Ku Klux Klan and be on the State Board of Education.
I remember living in Michigan and hearing that I had to move to Indiana and being frightened because all I knew about it was the Klan was here. So
right.
yes.
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 They kind of quiet, but one of the reasons I keep saying I'm gonna look up the story because I can't remember these people's names. But anyway, the Grand Dragon or whatever, like the main dude, he ended up like kind of bringing it all down because he sexually assaulted a white woman, and the story got out, and so he lost a lot of support, and that drained a lot of their power. But now it doesn't seem like they care. Like you can sexually assault all the white women you want, and they're like, nope, you're still our guy as long as we get to like keep doing this like racism stuff. We don't care if you. Because, I mean, black women were never protected. But it was like, but at least we could get like some like auxiliary protection that the white women were getting. But now since the white women are like, look, we're trying to be trad wives. Fuck you.
Well, and you know what's crazy too?
Not all of them though. Nice white ladies, keep doing your work.
No, of course. Yeah. No, but when you said about the dating advice, that feels like a big, like that seems like a huge gateway into this sort of into the manosphere. Like I'm picturing the bouncer to the club being like the pickup artist, right? Like he's the one trying to show you what, you know, like how to get,
it's like toxic stuff.
Yeah, and it's like that is, you know, I don't know, because in my mind it's like, why wouldn't you want to learn how to actually talk to women so that they actually like you?
Because your whole life, everything's been catered to you. And so imagine up until this point, this big age of yours, all of life has been catered to you and what works best for you.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden people are like, no, you have to start thinking about other people.
Right.
Now, okay,
I
go.
wouldn't like it.
You wouldn't like it? I feel like I'd be okay with it. But just because...
Well, because you've allowed me to be this selfish for so long. Sure. Why now are you going to change it? So I think I'd fight it. Not like, I think it could switch, but I think that's a hard one. Because when you're so self-absorbed, self-indulgent for so long, and that's your practice, like it takes a lot to.
And
get
everybody else
yourself.
has been saying like the same thing, and now all of a sudden it's like, hey, now everyone's like all this DEI. Which have you heard like that for themselves didn't earn it?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's rich.
But Jasmine really did. Jasmine Crockett's been reading
Representative
them.
Jasmine Crockett,
She's been reading them
right together. And if nothing else, you're gonna have to hear our mouth. If you were tired of hearing about woke stuff, wake up, bitch. Like, we're not gonna shut up. Like, it's just going to get worse now.
But what's wild to me though, y'all mad about wokeness, but then the red pill theory is such a big part of what they're talking about, right? Because isn't that getting woke? Like the red pill is like taking that pill so you can be awake to what's really happening. These hoes are really trying to get all your money. They're plotting for you. I'm like, there's just so much to say.
These hoes were why money was invented.
Period.
Dumb. Like, there's no point of having this stuff. Like, if you, I mean, to me, it's just very obvious. Oh, well, let's take a break, and I'm gonna come back with good news because we've been like, but we're gonna come back with good news, guys. I
Okay,
promise.
we'll be right back. you guys. Welcome back from the break.
Yeah.
God, we're excitable.
We are very excitable. Listen, this is why we have to do this. I'm so glad we do this.
I'm so
I
glad we
have
do
gone
this.
back and listened to like old episodes. It is like having a visual journal.
I know.
So I'm really grateful for that because I'm really bad at keeping a journal, which I'm trying to do better. I'm just bad at it. I'm trying to be better.
This is the best kind, friend. This is the best kind. And also, I just want to reiterate that, like, this Manosphere episode is going to be one. I think this might be helpful for us to do a few of these and have different conversations.
It's a big conversation.
This isn't like a hour-long conversation. And if you are not new here, you already know how we do at the Fat Podcast. We tend to be a little all over the place, but we appreciate your patience with that. We just get very excited. But I wanted Kat to share. She said she has some good news, so let's say that really quick.
I have excellent news, guys. I needed it. Okay.
Tell
So
us.
for people who don't know who Alex Jones is, he's not great. He could be a lot better than what he is. But one of the many terrible things that he's done is troll the parents of the Sandy Hook murderers, like with that school shooting where those babies were slaughtered in their classrooms. And he tried to say that it was just a deep state plot to take everybody's guns. And so he would actively harass and encourage other people to harass these families who should, who've gone through one of the most unspeakable tragedies ever. So they sued him because he's a big blowhard. Because he owned InfoWars. It was like, that was his platform, like his website or whatever, and his little show. And so he lost the lawsuit because everything they were alleging was true. And so he had to pay, it was a class action lawsuit. I think he had to pay just over $1 billion to these families. And since he did not have $1 billion, he has to sell a lot of assets, InfoWars being one of them. So what he was going to do, which is have one of his little right-wing crony rich friends buy it so he could still control it. But I guess the trustee who was involved in or whatever was like, no, we're going to sell it to The Onion. So The Onion is going to be buying InfoWars. And for people who don't know what The Onion is, it is a satirical political site who does not see it for Alex Jones.
Let's go.
So, yeah, I'm really excited for, nothing's going to make up for what they lost, but I'll be damned if this dude lying on me is going to ever have another platform where he gets to do this again.
Honestly, that does feel good and hopeful because I do think when you're coming up against, because that's what it is, right? Like you get these echo chambers of just misinformation and just hateful rhetoric. And like, why on earth, I just can't even imagine why anybody would set their sights on the parents of people who fucking lost their kids to gun violence in a school of all fucking places. I'm using a lot of F's here because I mean it. It's like,
it's hard to say and think about. Like,
Yeah,
I really
it
try
just
not to think
is.
about it too much because, goddamn, what a nightmare.
What a nightmare. I can't even think of, there's lots of terrible things, but like when you think about kids just being somewhere where they're supposed to be learning and whatever, and they're getting gunned down, and you have somebody using their platform to say that it's fake. And my baby died.
And sicking people on you, because that's the thing too. Rudy Giuliani, did you see he just had to sell his New York apartment to pay off those black ladies that he was lying
voters
on?
fraud.
Yeah.
Yeah, bitch. What a snake. Yuck.
And then my heart goes out too because this happens on a smaller level too, where
Yeah,
people,
it does.
and it's like, it's just so ugly. So it's very nice when you finally see some actual justice in this world.
So it's a given that the Onion is buying it and it's
I think Alex Jones is trying to challenge it, but I don't think he has a leg to stand on.
Oh, I hope not.
So we'll keep you posted. But as for now, the Onion's bid to buy InfoWars was accepted for $10 million.
Dang, that is some good news.
It is.
Because
I think one of Alex Jones's little cronies, they offered more, but the trustee was like, no, the parents wanted to go to them, and they're the ones who won.
Thank you. Is there money?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they want to take a smaller amount because they don't, the whole point is to shut you up.
Shut the hell up.
And you should just take several seats. So just imagine, like, he's kind of like the new Rush Limbaugh.
Ugh.
You know what I mean? Like,
Gross.
Yeah.
So that is good.
And if you ever want to do a deep dive on Alex Jones, because his divorce was like crazy as hell too.
Oh my God.
Because whatever.
I mean, I feel like these personalities are ones that sort of intersect with the Manosphere too, because
Very much. Oh, he's very much a part of the Manosphere.
Yeah, very
a lot
much.
of this stuff where you just get to blame everybody else for your problems while being mediocre as hell.
Well, let's call a few of them out real quick. I'm just going to name some of these names so that you guys can look them up. And again, like I said, we're coming back to this because I feel like we
it's
do have to
deep.
rush through this or whatever. But like Andrew Tate, don't know if you guys know about him, but he's known for his controversial takes on masculinity and relationships.
He just recently had the little kiki with shits and giggles about how black women are worse. That wasn't Andrew Tate. That was Andrew Schultz.
I'm about to say no. Andrew Tate is the one who had didn't he get arrested or something? He's the one who was like sexually assaulting those women in Romania. Like he was like, oh, you gotta look him up. He's the worst.
He was on sex trafficking charges.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
He was one of those ones. He was real.
He was dedicated.
Hustlers University program, which claims to teach financial independence, but of course, right? That's the segue in, but it ends up being exploiting
Can I just
women.
say real quick too, like this financial literacy thing, that's not what's going to solve poverty. Okay, systemic poverty isn't because poor people are bad with money. Okay, some of them, okay, sure, but that's not the overarching problem. Like they're just spending all their money on lottery tickets. No, that's not what's happening with a lot of this stuff.
Like both of those things can exist at the same time. People can need financial literacy, but also there should be some sort of
enough
social
money to live.
Safety net for people not to be
Sometimes the
struggling.
math just doesn't math. Like the minimum wage hasn't gone up, y'all.
It has not. Another one, Jordan Peterson.
Gross.
We know him, psychologist and academic who critiques modern feminism and promotes traditional values.
I would see a pseudo needs to be in front of all
It
of
is
that.
pseudo. So like he's the one who kind of gets that whole red pill theory. He's the one who kind of pushes that
He's
forward.
good at just talking and droning on and making it sound like he's saying something when he is not.
That's exactly
and he
what it is.
came to fame because he didn't want to use people's preferred pronouns. That was his claim to fame.
Went hard. Is he Canadian?
Yeah, he was at Toronto University. And was just like, it's against me.
Yeah, well then
you ain't.
Anywho, okay. What about, we know Kevin Samuels, right? Y'all know
we
him.
Knew him. He's dead now.
Oh gosh. Okay, we're not. Okay, so lifestyle coach, influencer, gained notoriety for his blunt relationship advice, focusing on high value men and women's dating standards.
And shitting on black women.
Oh my God, just yuck. And then Rollo Tomasi, author of Rational Male. Right. These are so foundational text in the red pill community, which outlines theories on intersexual dynamics. Hypergamy, that's the word that I learned.
Oh, hypergamy.
Hypergamy, which I heard this word when I started looking into the manosphere, and it's talking about a woman's preference for high status men. And so like the idea is that there's only 80% of women are going after the top 20%. This is when they sort of start intersecting that whole
bunk
theory.
Ass,
saying that 80% of women are going after the top 20%.
After chads.
Bitch, what?
Because have you heard the term
Giga
chads?
Giga chads.
Oh, giga chats?
Giga chads.
Giga chads.
Yes.
Oh, I haven't heard of the giga part. I've just heard about chads. Because everyone,
It's because it's a meme. It's like a meme of this hyper masculine. He's got like the chiggled.
Chiggled. We're going to call it a chiggled.
That's funnier.
Chiggled jawline from now on.
The kids do it. Yeah. They do the whole, it's like the whole. Have you seen this?
No.
Like the mewing and all this. This is all kind. We'll get into it. See, this is why I need to know about this, because my son and my kids, like they are sort of peripherally being introduced to some of this shit, friend.
And it all lines up because I remember, now I feel like this has probably been going on for a while, but I remember when my son was younger, like in elementary school, I would get comments from his teachers about how respectful he was to the girls. And I remember thinking, I'm like, that is weird, because I heard it from more than one teacher.
Wow.
So I was always kind of like, well,
what are these other kids doing?
Right.
What's happening?
Well, I mean, I don't feel like it was that bad when I was little, but I do remember the boys were kind of,
right.
Yeah.
And it's like, boys will be
boys. It's like, yeah, they're always trying to trick you into touching their little meat.
Oh my God.
Like
little meat. Ugh. The worst kind.
Yeah, it was, it can happen. So yes, like it does kind of start early, I think.
I think it does too.
There is a natural tension between boys and girls. Like they'll be like, no boys, no girls.
Yeah,
like
we're
it's all
different.
this whole thing, but It
just doesn't
point,
have
you
to
have
be
to
this
leave
toxic.
that. It doesn't.
It just does not. It doesn't have to be this contentious.
I also say, I
guys.
don't think I've said it yet on the podcast, or at least this episode. I love men.
I do too.
In fact, for all of these men in the manosphere, I mean, if you, the only way I will take any criticism from them about me not loving men is if they've sucked more dick than I have.
I bet they haven't, friends.
I bet they have not. So, because I wanted to bring a chart, because as female empowerment goes up, so does blowjobs. Because I'm not going
Get into it.
Yeah. So it's like, if that's your goal, like you'll see, like
That's so
even
funny.
like with Tucker Max, like he's like, I can't keep the women off me. Because so I'm just saying, so I'm not going to take any criticism about how I'm man bashing. I'm man smashing.
You know what, friend? I feel like that's a great way to end this. Okay? She's men smashing. But also, you guys know that this isn't the only episode we're going to have about this. I
Yeah.
definitely want to revisit this because I still have lots and lots and lots to unpack.
And we want to hear from you.
We
like,
do
what are we
too.
getting something wrong? Is there something we're missing?
That ain't what I was asking, but that ain't what I was asking. But I'm saying, like, are there certain points in this conversation that you want to hear us specifically touch on? There's just it's such a multi-layered situation and a lot of intersectionality, especially when we talk about far-right politics, racism, you know, like you said, all of the isms, basically. So I want to get into all of it, but I wanted to introduce the subject because I found it fascinating. And also, too, I want to talk to men who aren't in it. You know, I did ask my husband, like, how did you not get in it? Like, why aren't you? Because I do think that, like, a lot of men do feel like, generally speaking, that, you know, they're triggered by the whole hyper or toxic masculinity point and feeling like things that come natural to them are toxic, right? And so,
and we're not saying that.
we're not saying that, but also I was asking my husband, like, how did you, like, so if you feel like that on some level, why aren't these personalities or these talking
Appealing
points
to
appealing
you.
to you? Like, why are you avoiding this content? I know you interact with it, or not interact, but
You
I know
be
you
around these
see
dudes.
it.
Yeah,
I know
you
you
met some of these dudes.
you be talking to them because they out here. And he was like, I think it's just because, he was like, for one, I feel like I know that it's a reaction to something. And there's always going to be a reaction to, you know, to anything. So that's going to exist. But also he was like, I know women. I grew up around women. I love women. Like, I'm around solid women. And I know that, you know, like if somebody's making this point that, oh, women, he's like, I can point to like 20 of them, 30
That
of them,
ain't
40,
doing that.
who aren't doing that. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And so it just feels like it's, you know, it feels like a talking point, or it feels like something to say. Like, he's like, people are always just saying something to be sensational or to be looked at. And he was like, it really just comes down to, you know, like self-esteem, how you feel about yourself.
Yeah.
And I think
And it sounds to me like engaging with reality and not just your magic rectangle.
But also being actually involved with women and having meaningful relationships with women. You know, when you have those, it's harder to make the point that they all suck.
Right.
Just like it's harder for somebody to tell me all men suck when I know that's not true, when I see good
Right.
ones. So I think that's maybe a good place to end things.
I think so.
I feel like we rushed through that. We have stuff to do, you guys.
I
so
know. Listen, you guys are welcome.
You are. And thank you, because you
And
give us a
thank
reason
you.
to sit here and bloviate
And
about this.
thank you. But yeah, I could talk about this all day long because it really affects my life.
It does. It's crazy. It's crazy.
And it's wild because the men I'm close to and really know aren't like this.
Yeah, so it's really
You
hard
know,
to swallow.
So it is hard when you get into the, also shout out to the Drunken Nights, because I feel like
yeah.
that's the reason why when I first discovered their podcast, why I really liked it. Because I'm like, oh, they're not doing that. Like, here are
Thank
three
God.
men talking, being honest, being like, and they're very manly.
And you
know?
can have your notes about women and your experience
Sure.
with women. Like, some of them suck. Like, that's a real thing too. I've met those
Yeah,
kind of ladies as well. But to paint it with a broad stroke, like this is, you know, and
Yeah.
fuck them and cut their clits off, and they don't.
Oh yeah, because I feel like that's
It's
the
like,
end
what?
game. Like, we're either gonna end up in burqas or with our clits cut off.
Both,
like if
maybe.
we or both. You can
Yeah.
have both. Yeah,
Yeah.
like those go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Like this sort of like, okay, this is what's gonna be our solution to this sort of age-old problem of men and women. So, but I just remember the first time I met Brother to the Night, like it was that night where I met dude who was just having a really problem with the concept of consent, which is my favorite. I mean, we never had the word consent like when we were coming up, but once the language around that came around, I'm like, yes, that's perfect.
That's what I'm talking about.
And it's not just for women, it's for men too, because men get sexually harassed too.
They sure do.
So it's like, and it can be very, very awkward because you can't, like, for me at a certain point, I can just kick him in the crotch or pepper spray him. But for men, like, to
physically assault you.
Yeah, a woman, you look crazy, but it was like, nah, man, I didn't know what else to do. Yeah. So yes, like consent. You guys, it's
we love
great.
it. We do love it.
It's the best.
Okay. All right, you guys. So I guess we should spin the wheel to see what we're gonna talk about next week. So spin it. Kat, what are we looking at?
Okay, so no books, guys. Maybe no more books till the end of the year. Yeah, it's a sleigh ride to Christmas. We are going to be talking about HBO's original series, The Penguin.
Ooh, okay.
I've already finished it. Moni's almost there. I have trouble not spoiling things. I'm getting better though.
You are.
I'm really trying to improve myself. So that is one of the things where I'm just like, okay, I don't have to be a blabbermouth about everything. So yeah, if you guys want to hear about that, come back. And if you don't, but you still want to participate in conversations about the Penguin, you will be able to after our episode.
Yay!
So and without the 10-hour commitment.
Yeah, that part. Okay. So before we get out of here, is there anything?
Oh, general announcements.
Yeah, general announcements.
We've got the In Podcasting Network event coming up December 14th.
Yes.
Rip into it, guys. Like, if you're interested in starting a podcast, come down. Like, I can't recommend it enough. I think everyone should have a podcast. Even if you don't just keep doing it, it's such a, especially if you have a brand, it's such a great way to establish a brand. So yeah, if you're interested, come down December 14th. Oh, I don't even know what time we say it.
It's gotta be in the afternoon because we didn't know if I was gonna be on call, friend.
Yeah. What did we say? December 14th, 11 a.m.
Okay, 11 o'clock.
I put 11 a.m. Well, we'll give you more details, but it'll be at Switchboard Indie.
Yes.
In Fountain Square area. Come down, check us out. If nothing else, you'll get to see a live podcast with us, which is always fun.
Yeah, and we're going to be doing a little bit about consistency, which is one of the most important things when you're doing a podcast. So just giving you some tips, some pointers, and encouraging you if you're starting your journey or if you're already been a part of your journey and you're struggling with the consistency part. We're going to be giving you some advice on that. So definitely come down and check us out.
For sure.
That'll be great.
And I just wanted to bring up, this is just some of the stuff that can get messed up when people forget women are people. Oof. So this is Giselle Pellicot.
Yes.
She's a French woman who is in court right now because her husband for years was drugging her and letting men have sex with her. And it's really just
unfathomable.
Like, it just that level of betrayal. She was very clear because she was like, some people think I've forgiven him. I will never forgive him. Some things are unforgivable.
Forgive him? How would that be on the table?
People are always telling you to forgive. I think sometimes you should not forgive. Like, you can get past stuff without being like, nah, dude.
I don't forgive you.
I don't forgive you. Yeah. And I really hope that you face some serious ass consequences for this. That is.
Wow.
And just the level that. And
breach of trust. I mean, it's just, again, like the emoji where the head pops off and explodes.
When I saw that story, I was just like, wow.
And the fact that she has to, that is humiliating. That is degrading. Yeah, my heart goes out to her because, even starting over after that, now I'm associated with this thing that I had nothing to do with for the rest of my fucking life. That's terrible. And so, women are people, guys. I can't say that enough. And also, too, for the men out there, I guess what I wish for men out there who are feeling isolated and feeling like they're looking for that community, it starts with you. You know what I'm saying? And, I guess it's hard if you don't have those physical people around you. But, the counter programming to the Manosphere would just be being involved with people who, if you know somebody who's in a relationship, it seems healthy, ask that person questions. You know what I mean? Get advice from them. You know, maybe those analog sort of
and listen to the Mating Grounds. That's a podcast that's still around.
I don't know.
That was that white man, Tucker Max. He had a podcast series called The Mating Grounds. And he talked to different experts about like romance and dating. But he said, first and foremost, work on you. And before you start going looking for a partner, his first advice was become good at something. Women find that very attractive.
Yeah. And so, yeah,
well,
just
people find that very attractive. Like when you're like, oh man,
so you're good at that.
Talent. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I want to say like I do feel some sympathy for being in a space as a man and feeling like you don't have anywhere to go. And I just hate that the manosphere just so wide open. It's so easy. So just stay alert, man. Like you really do have to like be conscientious about the information you're taking in. Be curious, ask questions, and don't just accept the first thing you hear. You know, just ask questions, guys. Because man, people out here really trying to, and they're trying to sell you something. That's the other part. It's a grift. It's a fucking grift. Like these.
Because Alex Jones, he was the one selling that colloidal silver and stuff like that. Like during COVID, when they were trying to sell the ivermectin and trying to undermine, like actual.
Or the fresh and fit guys, you know, they're charging $1,000 to sit and talk to them about how to date women. It's like so think about that. Just think about that. Anytime the answer is paying somebody $1,000 to talk to them for 30 minutes, 20, like it's probably not the answer. You know, you probably have the answer, and it's probably in your community. So, you know, I know it can be hard sometimes. It can be isolating. Young men,
no one can take your masculinity.
No, it's yours.
That
and you
is
can define
yours.
It.
Yeah.
Sure. So,
and you're also half woman. You came from a woman, so there's
don't
nothing
do that.
wrong.
We need a whole nother. Oh, okay.
Well, there's nothing wrong with being like tapping into both sides of your nature.
You're all scared of that, though,
we both
friend.
have. It took a man and a woman to make me, and I have both natures. So
listen to some Tupac. Let's start there.
Keep your head up.
Keep your head up. Listen to some Tupac, and then we'll get into the chromosomes and stuff. You guys, be a part of the things that you love. Connect with the people you love. Life is short. Enjoy it. Friend, anything you want to say before
your body belongs to you. Everybody.
Yes, so have some fun with it. I like it. All right. Bye, guys. See you next time.
Before we go, we must give thanks to Urban Nerd for providing our music, and legal services were handled by Trezanae M. Atkins. If you like what you heard, please feel free to join us every Wednesday for another fake-ass book club. Cheers.
Thank you guys for listening. You can check us out at thefabpodcast.com. Please subscribe, rate, and review our podcast wherever you're listening right now. We want to hear from you. Come put it in our life. Thanks again, and until next time, peace, love, and the Fake Ass Book Club. We out.